Go.
Everyone, we just had a little 15-minute break while we prayed out the promo video.
And Darren.
Oh yeah,
Darren's song with Darren. We've got my mate Paul's coming on in a minute. He does his ramblings of a madman on Facebook. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's Paul Fitch. You can find his videos. I think he's just doing it to Facebook now.
I think so.
We'll
I don't know if he's doing it. Yeah, we'll ask him.
But Paul's been on the campaign trail, waking people up for as long as 2010, I think it was.
Same
we were around
as
the
me.
time, yeah, same as me.
Oh,
20,
mad,
20
isn't it?
well, between 28 and 2010. And I do believe
He is with us.
he is with us, just waiting for him to connect to the audio. So Paul's going to be on with us. And then we're going to have the lovely Sandy Adams.
No.
Sorry, I keep this.
Nigel.
So Nigel Thorne's going to be on. I can't wait to talk to him because I've never spoken to Nigel before.
Brilliant, Nigel is really good. His information is second to none. So we got Nigel coming on at 3:30. So we got half an hour without Paul when he's
connecting
on.
to audio. He's connecting.
But yeah, he always does his videos and they're absolutely brilliant, and he's always sharing and posting links and whatever. So, and he's censored as well and
Heavily
shadowed.
censored.
Yeah, and he has been for a long time. But yeah, his videos are great, guys, if you do see them, because he does plug, especially the stuff with the children.
Yeah,
he's really hot on the children, and you know, with getting all the information and stuff out to people, and you know, he's brilliant, Paul.
He's struggling to connect to audio, but nothing's gone down yet.
Don't.
I know. I'm just blown it completely. Right. The figure's been sitting on 8,094 for quite a while now, for too long, considering we've been on air coming up to 3 hours now.
And just so for people who weren't aware earlier, that's not £8,094 we've had for this podcast. They've linked it with the other one, so it was on nearly $6,000 before. So we made it. That's over £2,000.
We made over £2,000 since.
Yeah, but that was when we started promoting it, though, wasn't it? Which was
So it would be nice if we could just start boosting it up a little bit. It would be
I'm sure
fantastic. Have we got Paul yet? Doesn't look like it.
I don't know if we've got Paul, but we did get a £50 donation from Q Team Awesome.
Oh, the lovely Christine Miner and the Q Team Awesome over there in the States.
Thank you
They've
very
sent
much,
£50
guys.
over. Thank you very much. Richard Vobes, we have received your £100 as well.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you so much. Let me see if there's anybody else. I hope I'll just say your first names in case people don't want their names put out.
Kim.
So we've got Kim. Thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
We've had somebody anonymously sending £20 in, quite a few anonymous contributors. That's good. Let's go and have a look at the chat. I know we've got Gary Jones in the chat over in Rumble. Hello, Gary. And who else we got over here in there? Meme Savagery is over on the Rumble links. We're all over the place, guys, on the Facebook as well, Liberty Tactics Facebook. And I do believe Fitchy's here. Are you here, Paul?
I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm just trying to get on now.
That's all right. We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Yeah, it's just loading up. Do you know what? I haven't got a main computer anymore. I'm literally operating off my pad or my phone. And I've had to install it on my phone because my pad's decided that it's just going to start playing up as we're about to go live.
Oh, how convenient. How convenient.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, you're okay. You don't need to be on screen. It'd be lovely to have your face there so we can see your lovely little face. But
we can
hear you. So at the moment, that's all that matters. How are things going? Let's just talk a little about you and how you... What was the defining moment to get behind PCP Wales and the campaign?
Oh, here I am. Am I on now?
Oh, hey, he is. Hiya, Paul.
I've got my hat on.
Sunshine goes out.
Right, can you hear me okay? Yeah,
we can hear you.
Right, okay. A quick rundown on myself. 2008 is when I first woke up and spent about a year doing a lot of heavy research, as you do in the small hours of the night till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then having to drag yourself out to work. And it wasn't until 2009, going into 2010, that I actually got off my backside and decided to start hitting the streets. And for anybody who knows me, I'm actually quite a shy and retiring person. And to get out on the streets and start shouting me gob off about conspiracies just put shivers down my spine. But you know what? At that point, I had a couple of grandchildren. I'm now on my 16th grandchild who's just turned 1. And I just had to get off my backside and do it and put my own fears to the side. Fast forward all these years later and a lot more research later, and the insidious agenda that's unfolding at breakneck speed in front of our eyes with regards to our precious children. Here we are, yeah. So that's just a quick rundown on myself. You know, I do all my videos and that, and I've done loads of rallies over the years. And each rally that I've done, for whatever cause it may be, from fracking to chemtrails to going over to Liverpool to tackle the establishment with regards to institutionalised child trafficking. Yeah, we've just got to get off our backsides and raise awareness. And it's always been about the children. Each and every topic matter that I'm coming across, that I'm going out into the streets for, it's all for the children. And obviously what you guys are doing along with Public Child Protection Wales, it's phenomenal. I can't, I've said this on my videos, my rambling videos, I can't put it into words just how inspiring both Kimberly and Lucia and the gang there at Public Child Protection Wales, and you guys yourselves, Cass and you, Lou, both phenomenal. I've known you both for over a decade independently. We've never met.
Thanks to you,
Yeah,
we're sitting here together.
It was because of you that I'm even here now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we all do, though, isn't it? That's what it's all about, just networking and bringing people together. I don't know where I was going with that now. Gone out my head.
Oh, sorry, that's our fault for just chiming in and jumping in. So how are things? Are you hearing from people like within your friends lists and on your social media? Has anybody come into connection with this education from up there on the Wirral? It's
like tumbleweed, Lou, and this is why I'm saying it's all down to awareness. I've scratched my head for quite a while, putting it down to only one or two things. Is it apathy? People are aware and they're just not doing nothing because they're bogged down in their own lifestyles, or is it they just haven't got a clue? And it's got to be the latter.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Paul. This, you know, as much as this weekend is about raising money, obviously, for the legal fees and whatever, it's vital that we raise awareness for this very reason. And we say it continually over and over again. You know, if enough people really understood this whole agenda and where it's going and where it comes from, we wouldn't even have to be sat here doing this. We wouldn't need to be, because we would have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. But as you know, Paul, and you're aware of it, it is a massive agenda. It's a real long, big, far-reaching, you know, whole agenda that is just in every single part of society. And the bottom line here is that we're on the last taboo of legalizing paedophilia, incest, and bestiality. They always knew that they were going to be the last to be accepted.
That was the end game. Yeah.
And they are being, and that is the frightens me. You would have seen about the UN last week, I think, Paul. They're going for decriminalisation of obviously sex between adults and minors if it's on a consensual basis. You know, we know about the MAP, the minor attracted person, and they're trying to make it into sort of a
Excuse me, but I am smoking.
That's all right, love. A sexual orientation. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've seen this come through the decades, and like you say, you've got lots of grandchildren. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you as well for doing everything you've done, and you know, everything that you do for us in terms of raising awareness and whatever. I said to Lou just before you came on, you're always on the button with it, you know. And there's people like you, I really have a massive amount of respect for and love, because you're out there doing the right thing. Even like you say, you know, it could be uncomfortable for you being quite a reserved person, but you still got off your ass and done something about it. And I can't thank you enough. So thank you, Paul.
Oh, thanks, mate. That means a lot. Do you know what, Kath? Just to go back on what you were saying there with regards to this being a long game and the end game being them legalising the paedophilia. obviously we know the reason why they're trying to legalise it is pure and simple. It's because they're all paedophiles. Yeah. Right at the top echelons of all of the infrastructure of our system that we're living under, from the judicial system to the music industry to the police, all the top echelons, they've all been, shall we say, dining with these elite, and they are basically blackmailed. They give them whatever they want, whether it be prostitutes, whether it be children. They give them what they want. They're filmed, and then they're blackmailed, and then the agenda's pushed through them people.
Yeah, you're exactly bang on, because there was on the last podcast, Alex Thompson gave me a recommendation, the Whitney Webb one.
That's right.
One Nation Under Blackmail is called, and it's in 2 parts. I did start reading it, but then I get so many different books, and I just read them, and then I kind of left it on the back burner. But I did read about a quarter of it. It's quite a big book, and this is even, presidents and whatever else. It is all sexual blackmail. So when they make, obviously they're under blackmail for a start. So but that affects everything that isn't even sexual. So for example, when they go in for wars and things, even that, if they don't start a war in whatever country, then we're going to release this of you.
Yeah.
Do you know
we've only got to look at Tony Blair for that, haven't we? Sorry to interrupt. We've only got to look at Tony Blair for that, what he took us into in Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and his started off, didn't it, when he was prosecuted for soliciting in the toilets?
In the toilets.
Yeah, exactly.
Under his middle name. Something that I did want to touch on, and I have been talking about this within me ramblings to promote the Podcast-athon, and it's only been the last couple of days that I've touched on it briefly with regards to what went on in the concentration camps in Japan and Germany, and then what was being funneled through, obviously, Project Paperclip, where they took all of these experiments on the psychological experiments that they did in these camps and fine-tuned it through the CIA. And, the whole music industry none of it's ever been for our entertainment. The TV, the music industry, the sports industry, none of it was meant for our entertainment. All of it is for this purpose of where we are right now.
Yeah, you're right.
It's exactly.
Yeah, it is. And we know, the music industry in particular, Hollywood and the rest of them, but lately the music industry have completely ramped it up. They don't care. They got Sam Smith dresses.
Well, he's apparently, it's called to say, he's cancelled.
I did see.
He's cancelled another show.
So he must be getting crap for it. He should be. Of course he should be.
It was never like that, because he did that. He did that song, didn't he? It was really, came out of nowhere. I'm not going to sing it. I was going to sing it. No, I can't remember the name of it, but it was quite a funky tune. La 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 la.
La la, yeah.
You know the one I mean?
I love the song as well.
It was really good, and then that catapulted him, and there was no sign. He just looked like a normal. He was a little bit chubby. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, he was a normal bloke, and then all of a sudden he had this massive weight loss. Then he came out with the nonsense about pronouns.
Yeah.
What the?
Well, he's just
he's a victim.
Yeah, he is a victim. He's been pulled through.
Yeah,
through this and dragged. He sold his soul. Very many of them do it. We've seen it a lot. And when we look back, you can see it actually in a lot of the music. We revisit these things that we didn't really pay. For example, Tainted Love by Soft Cell was one of my favourite songs until I watched.
I only found out about that about 2 years ago.
Yeah, not the video where they changed it and he's up in the night sky, but the one before then, and that is one of the most disturbing. And I was like, oh, when you listen to the lyrics in context with the video, it's like, oh wow. So it's been going on. It has been going on a long time, but recently, like I say, they're just flat out showing you look at that video that he did, Sam Smith. Where the first one he did where it really kicked off, and it just looked like it was a porn video. Or is it I'm Not Here to Be Friends or something is called the song. And obviously then you had the issue with him on, was it This Morning or something, like when he was on about, he was on with what's his name off Boyzone.
The one show, wasn't it, with the fish of them?
Yeah, when he said, and you're like, but
I didn't see this. Sorry,
he was sat on with Ronan Keating, and a woman, and he was sat there. This wasn't that long ago, really, about 2 months ago, And Ronan says to him, "Oh, I've heard that you're into fishing," and he says, "Oh yeah." He said, "I'd love to be a fisher then." I was like, "Oh, really?"
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't really
Okay.
believe that, but that he's being told to say these things. He's obviously being told to say these things, and he's doing it. And look what he's prepared. Look at the length that he's gone to. It's really sick. He knows he's going to get backlash, surely, for those videos. Miley Cyrus was the same. She was all Hannah Montana. Look at me, I'm cute.
The wrecking balls.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, she's on stage with dildos.
Dildos on
That's the All-Stars house, isn't it? The All-Stars house, all sweet and innocent, coming from the Disney factory. We won't even go. Well, let's not go down the Disney route.
No,
let's not. That's a podcast for another.
That's another one all on its own, I think, that one, isn't it? But yeah, the thing is, the bottom line is they're out to sexualize children, and I don't think it could be more evident at this stage. The drag queen, what do you think of all that, Paul? I know you've seen it all with the drag queen story hour.
They scared the living daylights out of me. I remember being on a holiday camp years ago. I think it was a bloody Pontins one or some of them with my mum and dad, and they used to have all the entertainment, didn't they, in the big hall and that. And I think I was about 10 or 11, and this fella walks in, drag. And that was it. That was the turning point. It just freaked me out. Yeah. And I just think it's all insidious. You had the likes of Paul O'Grady, obviously Dame Edna's away, and then you had the likes of your RuPaul, all slowly bringing it into the TV realm, and it's all part of the same agenda. Everything is leading to the children. Everything.
Yeah.
It's to desensitize the adult population to the point of where they think it's all hip and cool to be a woke person and take their children to these sick, depraved, satanic rituals.
Well, this is it. They were basically as well, and I just does my head in that people will even try and justify it, but Peter Tatchell, who I can't stand anyway, he's another guy. We'll talk about him later. But he said on a podcast the other day that Nick Tenconi was on, I think it was the same one, where he said, because somebody asked him, well, why would you introduce, what is the purpose of introducing a drag queen to read to children? What's the purpose in that? And his answer was, and other people's answers, is that, well, children get distracted and whatever, and they don't really pay much attention. So having it from a drag queen helps them read because it's really fun. And I was like, right, so none of us learned to read then. All of the billions of people that have lived before 2023 didn't read because they didn't have a drag queen to teach them. It's a ridiculous attempt.
Well, here's the
to
simple
justify
solution.
it.
Sorry to interrupt, Kat.
No,
You've gone over 30 odd hours to talk away, love. I've only got half an hour.
Exactly.
Here's the solution, right? And I've seen this a couple of times on Facebook. Grandparent story hour.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That'll be bringing the two communities of the elderly and the young together, getting a couple of them out of the nursing homes, whatever, who were all lonely, and it's being done. It works.
And though exactly it does, you are right. And the older generation can teach they need to be, before we get lost in among the wokeness, the older generation is beneficial for them to be around the younger generation as well. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't been sexualized. They've still got, the traditional morals and values instilled in them. Absolutely. So it's beneficial in that way. But that's the whole point. One there was break the family unit. Once you broke the family unit, control everybody.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's to try and explain to people. I think it was J. Edgar Hoover that said, wasn't it, one of his quotes, it's paraphrasing this, but it's basically, there's a conspiracy so big, so monstrous, so vast, that when the public are faced with it, they're absolutely handicapped. And that's exactly where we are. We've got so many prongs coming at us. And I think that's what's been so hard for the activist community to all get under one umbrella. I've tried this over the years with me, certain events that I've tried to organise of bringing everybody together, like the frackers, the chemtrailers, those who are dealing with the children, everything, bring us all under one umbrella because we're so fractured. And this is exactly what they wanted. They want us fractured, completely fractured, and fighting each other and not dealing with the issue. The big issue is ultimately the children. It's always been about the children. I'm sure both of you agree everything that you have done over the years has been for the children. Pure and simple.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and you're right. They're using that old divide and conquer because it works. It's worked since the beginning of time, and it still works now. And it doesn't matter how you sort of divide it, as long as you are. Do you know what I mean? And it was so much easier now when you look back. You know, even when we were young, you know, you still had a community. You still had your neighbours who'd look out for you. They all knew your names. You knew. Do you know what I mean? You had a proper community. But now they fractured where you don't even know your neighbour. So you're certainly not gonna sort of come together. They've been very clever, but massively sinister, obviously. But it is like one evil genius plan, I suppose, isn't it?
The pubs, the smoking ban, that was never about our health. It was to stop us congregating and talking.
And they, you know, even where I live in my town, used to be quite a lot of pubs. You know, I don't drink anyway, but there used to be quite a lot of pubs around Cwmbran. And I've in the last 10 years, at least 5 of them have gone, and we're not a massive town. Do you know what I mean? We're not a city or anything, you know. So
there's no pubs left. There's hardly any pubs left.
Yeah,
anymore.
they're not. They obviously not
finished it off
in my area.
They finished it off with you know what. So that finished it. You know, stopping people having the conversation, sitting down. You know, that's where things. You know, that's where communities make things happen, when there's a group of people sitting down
round the table and
having like a debate across, you know, over a few beers or a game of dominoes or something.
That's how you spread information, and they were well aware of that, and I think that's why they wanted to take us all and put us on the virtual screens.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, living our life like that.
The reason, like, there are people, you know, saying, you know, what's the point in raising all this money if nothing's going to be heard? Well, you know, you may have missed the previous sections that this group of people are actually taking the government to court. It's raising awareness, and the money that's raised from this event today, you know, if we can get the donations in, that goes to help towards the legal fund they've already incurred nearly £100,000 worth of costs. Everything's documented. We've had Lucia here today, who's the accountant. Every single penny is accounted for that is donated to this cause. So we're not just a group of parents looking it's not just a group of parents looking for people to donate a load of money, you know, just to raise awareness. No, the money is for the court costs.
Oh yeah, of course.
So what we're, you know, this show today and trying to get it onto more places and having all different guests coming onto the show is to raise awareness. That's what it's about. So if you're going to start trolling, we've given you the answer. We've given it to you right there. This is about raising awareness and the funds that are raised by Public Child Protection, not on just this fundraiser. There's many other fundraisers. We're going to talk to Garrett. Is it Garrett who's going on a walk?
We haven't got Garrett on the list.
No, we have. I think he's going to pop in later on. Yeah, I asked him.
Okay.
So I didn't. It's my fault. I didn't put him on the list. But there's plenty of other people that are doing fundraisers to help his cause, because they're not just doing it for the children of Wales. It will set a precedent. It can be moved. It needs to be a movement. People need to stand up and start thinking of our children. It's been a plan that's been going for many, many years. We were screaming about it back in the UK column when I was there back in 2012, 2013. The attack is on our children. It's been planned for years. They're coming after, and as Catherine reiterated earlier, if you can get them before the age of 7,
it's pretty much game over, you know. It's going to be difficult to try and remove that what's been instilled in their brain. So, you know, it is something that we need to do, and you know, Paul's out there and doing his ramblings of a madman.
Yeah, how's the response? What are you getting from the response to those, Paul?
We know you're censored, but other than that,
God, absolutely. Do you know what, right, I mentioned this on one of me ramblings the other day. A couple of years back, if I was doing a YouTube video, I'd get anything between 7,000 and 10,000 views, and anything to do with this, it's ridiculous. I'm lucky if I get 500-600. I've been sharing them as much as I can, and I would say the last week I've probably had about, all in all, through my videos, about coming up to 4,000 views, and the shares, it's more the shares than anything. Loads of people are sharing the videos for me. So I'm judging by what I'm gauging from this podcast-athon compared to the first and the second podcast-athon, and the amounts of interest I was getting and shares that I was getting for them too. This one's catapulted.
Oh, that's good.
I think it's going to do a hell of a lot better than the last 2 you did. I really do.
Yeah, and I think a lot has happened. I was on about this earlier, wasn't I? from when we did the last podcast, although we weren't even a year ago, it was actually 9 months ago we did the first one, and then obviously the second one was in November. But even in that pretty relevant short space of time, so much has happened, so much more information has come out, so much, you know, even with the things like the drag queen story out.
And the genders, as we said, there were 62 genders in back in August, but now there's
73 now.
73, so we've managed to gain 11 genders
in 9 months.
9 months, who knew?
Oh, evolution speeding up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It is, in particular, the last couple of years, this agenda in particular has gone through the roof, like very, very quickly. It really has. It's just stepped up and it's just come out. It seems to have come out of nowhere for a lot of people because, you know, obviously they've ramped it up that much. It does appear. We know it's coming from a long line, and you know, it's
trickled in very slowly.
But in particular, these last couple of years, I've not seen anything like it. And maybe the shock factor has actually done it for a lot of people as well, though.
Maybe.
Where they're like, oh my gosh, it is actually happening. It's happening in my town, you know, because a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, it's not really happening around here, so we're not going to thingy on it. But it is, because you've got kids now in schools identifying as cats, and they're having litter trays.
They're putting litter trays in the classroom.
I tell you what, I did laugh at Matty Ginsberg though, because he commented on somebody's and said, all right then, my daughter identifies as a whale, can we have an Olympic swimming pool size swimming pool for her in a school for her? Because, you know, where does it end? Where's the line going to be drawn?
Kat, it's not just the children. I think it was you that put the post up the other day with that bloody fella in the nappy.
Yeah. That's like a kink fetish.
That's a fetish.
And it's sick. You've got a grown man. That was in the UK as well, because, you know, people go, it's America. We got the same thing over here. That's a grown man, he must be in his 40s, dressing, identifying and acting like a little baby. Yeah. This is mental illness. It can't be classed as an identity of any kind. That's mental illness.
Totally. Absolutely.
As we know, we're starting to see the ramifications of this agenda now, aren't we? I'm sure you two have as well. I've had a lot of flack over the last few years with regards to the whole transgender agenda, and people just not connecting the dots of what's going on here. It's to have this explosion, as you said before, Kath. It was sort of a drip over decades up until 3-4 years ago, and it's just absolutely everywhere now, isn't it? And we're starting to see the fallout. People are coming forward now, aren't they, who have transitioned, and it's left them mentally scarred, suicidal, physically messed up completely, because they've been on these bloody hormone blockers and all sorts, haven't they?
Yeah, and they've had obviously top surgery or bottom surgery, and this is
these are the older ones who are all like 18, 19, 20 plus now.
Yeah,
and they're coming after the kids like never before. As you both know, the explosion that's going on with the pharmaceutical industry of where they're producing these drugs, these hormone blockers, and the surgery that's going ahead. You know, it's just an absolute explosion, and we're going to be left with a generation of sexual deviance on our hands.
Yeah,
and it's a twofold thing. One, we need to protect the children, but at the end of the day, we're getting to a point where in the next 20-30 years, we're going to be the ones that are in the nursing homes, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be looking after us.
Yeah, I know. This is the point, isn't it? Why we say that we can look after ourselves and make things good for ourselves, but if we're not focusing on the kids, none of that's going to matter, because the children are going to come up in whichever way they've been corrupted along the way, and they're going to take over from us. So we have to do something to completely spin it on its head. And, you know, the first thing is obviously getting this education out of school. But obviously there are other sides to this coin as well, you know. Many, because that's been the whole goal. Everything we see has been towards, you know, changing society, and to do that, you do that through the children. It's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
And you are right. We'll end up with a lot of deviance. We're already there. We're already at that stage, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, years ago we did a report. There was loads of stories coming out about 8 years ago. You know, the rise in child-on-child sexual abuse, children on children, and why children are finding out. And my argument, this was probably 8 years ago, that they're learning about it. Okay, yes, they're going to blame the internet and the porn. Yes, totally part of it. But they're also being taught too early in school. And that was about 8 years ago. So what is going to happen now this education is fully up and in there? I'm wondering what kind of result, would you say, what outcome and of damage and reports we're going to hear in a couple of years' time.
Oh, that's it. We're already hearing them now. So, and then we've still got like Lucia was on about earlier when we were in Cardiff. It was like before Christmas, and my young girl. I thought it was a young girl as well, mine, but he was with a group of like girls the same age. Yeah. But he was a boy, he had long hair and whatever, and he was on the road, and his mother agreed to it. So he was on the road to have puberty blockers because he was 13, on the waiting list, he said. And he had no, because Lucia was saying to him, do you understand that they're irreversible? That, and he's like, no, they're not. They're safe. And so on the basis of him, who's, you know, he's a child, thinking, and even the mother thinking, oh, you know, well, they are reversible if that's what he wants and whatever. You just complete. So while we're talking, this is still going on. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? It's like we've already seen the fallout of it, you know, in the detransitioners who are being massively silenced. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, with that's
terrible that they are being silenced.
They were all put up in the media when they wanted them, when they were pushing the narrative. And now they've come to a stage in their life where they're like, actually, I've made a massive mistake. I haven't got my genitals anymore. You know, they're in deep, the mental illness is just spiraling out of control.
They've lost the ability.
And the media don't want to know. They're like, no.
And then it's being done because it's such an early age, they haven't even reached puberty. But it's just so tragic.
It is
tragic. That they can't, it's the attack, it's the assault, that they can't just leave those children alone with the innocence. And that's all we're going to probably be repeating.
Yeah.
Paul, you're going to be around most of the day, are you? And evening,
yeah, I'm hoping
or when you can, that we can just scream and bring you back on. And I know you're going to keep an eye on the comments and stuff. So if you do see messages and responses from Paul, he is part of our team. So if he's in the comments in the chat room, that'd be great.
If there's a spare slot tomorrow, I'll jump on for another 5-10 minutes.
Perfect. Will be. Oh, thank you so much, Paul.
Fitch, how do people get to watch the videos? Is it just on Facebook?
Say again,
sorry. Just on Facebook, Paul?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm a bit like Kat as well. I was banned off Twitter and I just can't bloody get back on it. Can't get onto bloody Rumble. So I'm literally just now on Facebook. I'm on Telegram for The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing But the Truth. And you can also catch me on Ramblings of a Madman on YouTube. But they're the main three, Facebook being the main one, really, yeah. Do you know what? It's been an absolute honour, ladies. And Lou, absolute hats off to you, love. And we've talked in the past before, haven't we? Oh, before I forget as well, I did tell you the other day, Lou, yeah, with regards to meeting you, finally, on the 17th of May.
Oh, you're coming?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming. I'm going to book my tickets. I'm just looking for the best prices. But I'm going to do a round trip. I basically jump on the coach in Birkenhead by Liverpool, head down into London, be there for the meeting and the talks and everything else, and then jump back on the coach in the evening. And it's literally a 24-hour.
Oh, thank you so much. It's going to be amazing. And that's what it's all about, just raising the awareness. Obviously, as we keep reiterating, we need the fundraiser. I've given the reasons why we're doing the fundraiser, that it is not fair that they've already had 100 grand in court costs. It's going to go to the highest court of the land. It's going to become a movement, and it will do, because the way it's progressed within these last couple of years, unfortunately, it would be a lot bigger. It would be a much, much bigger if we weren't censored. If the censorship around this,
so much easier,
life would be so much easier, and we would get that. So it feels like this table's about to fall over.
Do you know what? Lou,
that's why we're
with
doing
what
it.
you've been doing. We've talked about this before. But, you know, I've been friends with you. Like I said, never met you, but I've been friends with you for well over a decade, and I've followed you since you started off with Brian Garish. And your bag has always been about the children, and the attack they are under, and the institutionalized paedophilia. If you hadn't have touched that subject and touched on every other subject, like every other podcaster, you would be up there at the top, love. You know that.
It doesn't.
I
mean, that's not bad. The children are, when I started on this journey, I was doing it for my kids because I didn't want my children growing up in the world like this.
Yeah.
Well, I've been fighting it now 10 years. So those children are now grown up. So my daughter's 22 now. My son's coming up to 18. And it's been a journey, but it doesn't matter. We've got to. We've got children. I'm going to have grandchildren one day. And we've got to do it. There is no other subject. It's just a no-brainer why anybody else really wouldn't jump on this.
There's enough high-profile podcasters and activists out there who treat this as a hot potato because they know it's just going to absolutely affect the view.
Oh yeah, you're not going to. But it's not anyone going in towards the truth movement. It's not about money. You just certainly don't go into the truth movement as a career because.
Well, yeah.
You don't.
You're not.
So you do that. This is only done because if you feel it, and I struggle that not everybody feels it, and it doesn't matter. You can lose everything. We've got to. It's too much cliche. But Paul, listen, we will have you back on. Hopefully, pop in again tomorrow because we've got Nigel Thorne coming on. And I've never spoken to Nigel before. You have, haven't you, Kat?
I have.
You've done some interviews with him. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming on today.
Do you know what? It's been an absolute honour, and I'm amongst some absolute powerhouses on the circus at the present moment. To follow Matt Letizia, I'm absolutely buzzing, and you've got on, you've got Brian Gersh, you've got the lineup's absolutely phenomenal. And as you say, if you were going to go away for the weekend to one of these big events, you'd be paying 40-50 quid a pop.
Yeah.
Well, more if you've got a weekend actually of viewing, but he's right. Yeah.
We're asking for the price of a cup of coffee, the price of a bag of chips. That's all we're asking for.
Exactly.
And to help spread the awareness. Pure and simple.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Paul. God bless.
Later or tomorrow. God bless.
Definitely. God bless you, ladies. Bye now.
Bye.